Welcome to my channel, Dr. Vanessa's Pearls and Rhinestones, where we'll discuss all things animal behavior and animal welfare.
First, let's go into the environment and how it affects behavior and how we can try to effectively manage it.
An animal's behavior is influenced by both nature and nurture. Simply put, nature involves those behavioral traits that an animal has inherited through genes from its parents, while nurture involves the influence the environment exerts on the expression of those genes lifelong, also known as epigenetics. Meaning, just because an animal has inherited a gene does not mean it's necessarily going to be expressed. When navigating our pets' behavioral traits, we cannot control what they have inherited from their parents, but there is one influence on their behavioral traits that we can control to some extent, which is the part of epigenetics involving the environment that we elect to put our pets in from the time that we adopt them. Introspectively, I think that we all can admit that the more we rehearse a certain behavioral pattern, the more we will just keep doing it like a habit. For example, let's say that we inherited an anxious personality. We can't control that we've inherited this anxious personality from our parents, but what we can control is regulating whether or not we are going to express that anxious personality. So for example, some of us may choose to not do anything about our anxious behavioral traits, or sadly, someone may not have access to mental health care that they need. And the more we rehearse anxious thought patterns when we're stressed, the more we will likely engage in this obsessive behavior whenever anything stresses us out, because it's all that we know and practice. Alternatively, we could put ourselves in cognitive behavioral therapy and challenge those anxious thought patterns with healthier coping mechanisms that we learn in therapy, such as interrupting negative thoughts with a more positive outlook and deep breathing. And the more we force ourselves to engage in that healthier behavior, the more likely we will keep doing that instead. And the same goes for every animal, human or not. If there's one thing I hope you learn from these videos, it's that you should not knowingly force your pet into a situation that is making them uncomfortable, especially if they have a behavioral disorder where pathologically it prevents them from coping in a healthy way. Not only is that poor welfare for the animal and unethical, but it's allowing them to rehearse the very behavior that you perceive as a problem. Instead, the best thing that you can do for your pet's behavioral disorder is to manipulate the epigenetics by managing the environment which triggers the disorder. Remember, behavior is a function of the environment. We behave a certain way because we are reacting to something in the surrounding environment. But before I prove this to you with scientific reasoning and understanding epigenetics, I really think we need to briefly delve into the basics of neurobiology. At least that's how I learn. I can't just accept that something is true. In order to believe it and actually act on it, I need to understand the why and the how in order for it to stick. So please bear with me in the next video where we will briefly delve into the basics of molecular neurobiology before going into the subsequent video on the effects of the environment of behavior.
As a disclaimer, none of the general discussions in these videos should be taken as specific recommendations to any patient or pet. A veterinarian cannot offer specific recommendations to any patient or pet with whom they do not have a valid veterinary client-patient relationship with, which requires an in-person examination in addition to a comprehensive understanding of that patient's unique history to form appropriate clinical judgment. For any questions about a specific animal, please refer to the family veterinarian with whom that animal has a valid veterinary client-patient relationship.